I started life, I suppose, as a sociologist. I graduated and then was sponsored, lucky enough to be sponsored by IBM to do a master's degree at Cranfield University. And for those of you who know Cranfield is certainly a university that's contributed, I think, a great deal to the manufacturing sector. I left Cranfield to work in the manufacturing sector for a short period of time. And I think during that time and the years that followed, because I spent 20 years when I came back from industry at Cranfield, it was certainly a place where one sees an awful lot of technological change and innovation. And I've always been fascinated by that change. And I suppose working in manufacturing and being in a university that prides itself on its reputation in the industry, I realized that scientists and engineers work really hard to create these technologies, and they always do it with the ambition, of course, that these technologies will ultimately lead to some social good. But it's not always the case, and that left me, curious about why that was. And I suppose over the years, I've come to, I suppose, appreciate that it's only really the social scientists that can really tell you what individuals and human beings will do with those technologies. The scientists and engineers can have some insights into that, but really it's the sociologists and the political scientists and the geographers and the historians that really can add an awful lot of value here and say something about how technologies are used, misused, adopted. And these things are really, really important. And we know it's not just about the scientists and the engineers, because if it was, we'd have artificial pretty much sorted now. So I'm currently the head of School of Management at the University of Bristol, and digitalization is a major theme. We think about it as a grand and social and societal challenge in the world. I had the great privilege of being involved in the early Made Smarter review, and was very delighted to be involved in that. And I suppose I've kept my interest. So at Bristol, the university thinks about digitalization as very much an interdisciplinary space. We think about the world in terms of socio-digital futures, and we see a co-evolution of both the social and the digital world. And I suppose my background in both management studies, some engineering and some sociology, I suppose, allows me to engage with that world. And it's a very exciting place to be. We know that the impacts, as I've said earlier on, that these technologies aren't always the way we wish they were, which is, technologies create inequalities. They create impacts that we really need to understand to ensure that we develop them responsibly and in a fair and just environment as we move forward. So we have set up a theme around digitalization. We contribute to an institute called the Bristol Digital Futures Institute, where we will be working with technologies, working with lots of organizations, different kinds of organizations, but also organizations in the political sphere, so local government, and also lots of different kinds of civil society organizations as well, because we're very interested in some of those negative impacts that these digital technologies create. And I'll leave it there for now.